Hey everyone, this is Jason Holland, owner and travel butler with Travel Simplicity. I want to take a moment this morning to introduce you to some friends of mine and clients. And this is Debbie and Dave. Debbie, welcome. Dave, welcome.
Thanks.
How are you guys doing?
Doing
well,
great.
yeah.
Doing great today.
You said it just snowed when?
A week and a half ago, maybe.
Yeah, unfortunately for April.
But it's all gone again. So
Can't complain too much because I know you guys moved out of the heat from being down south, and now you wanted the cooler weather up north, so you have it.
Yep.
yes.
Yep. Exactly.
Well, I wanted to take the time this morning. I'd asked them to share some pictures of some of the trips that we've designed together, and I have no idea what they're going to share. So I'm excited to see the pictures and hear some of the stories.
Yeah. So let us.
All right. See photos this time.
Oh, that's pretty.
All right.
Yeah. So most of these photos. So this right here, this was in Iceland. It was actually the first trip that you planned for us. Actually, my first trip overseas.
That almost didn't happen as I remember it.
Yeah, I for the longest time, I was not necessarily all for traveling overseas, but I mean, I'll definitely say now, especially from this trip and several others afterwards, I mean, I personally love traveling now. There's so much to see.
There was a little bit of pulling teeth on my end to make this happen. And I gotta give credit to you, Jason. You made the convincing much easier because you planned it all for us.
Exactly.
Well, I remember that initial conversation, and I remember that Debbie, you really were excited to travel, and Dave, I remember that you were a bit apprehensive about it, and we just had a conversation. I remember that we talked, and I know that one of the big things was the fact that you knew that you were going to have local contacts when you were there. People that I knew, people that were friends of mine who not only could help beforehand, but could help when you were there. And I'm so glad you went. And I remember after the fact, I don't remember if it was after you returned or if it was during your trip, but Debbie, I remember you saying that that it was Dave that was the first one to start talking about the next thing you were going to do. And that's wonderful. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
So this is Iceland. Yeah, I think that's Gullfoss, I think.
Yeah, it's one of the, I think, hundreds of waterfalls that they have all around the country.
So this was we did a little bus tour of the Golden Circle in the southern part of the country. And I think this was our first day on the tour. And we went in January, which maybe most people don't want to go to Iceland in January, but we're very snow people. So we loved it.
Which was surprisingly, even the temperature there for being in January was cold, but still for the most part pretty moderate. I mean, even at the nights only going down into the teens or single digits.
Yeah, and obviously not everything was snowy. And we had a lot of places we went where the waterfalls weren't frozen, and a lot of green, and
is this also in Iceland then?
Yeah. This is still down in that same general area.
This was still part of the Golden Circle.
Golden Circle.
Yeah.
I would not have expected the green. And I've been there in that time of the year. Huh.
Yeah, and you can see I think this was on top of like the last picture. This was like up on the ridge, like over here.
Okay.
There was places you could climb up
and see some of the black sand down there.
Yeah. And what was really cool was we could just fill up our water bottles in any of those like streams or rivers that we came across because everything was filtered by like the natural lava rocks.
Yep.
It was so good.
Possibly say the best tasting water we've ever had anywhere. A weird thing to say, but it's very true.
Yeah, I think our guide told us you're getting ripped off if you go and buy water at any of the stores because it's not going to taste any better than the stuff that you get out of the stream.
That makes sense. And it's so special to be in a place that you can actually say that. Most places you can't dip your bottle in the stream. You don't want to do that.
Yeah, no,
No.
exactly.
Um,
So this right here,
oh,
this is, I'm going to butcher the name. Eyjafjallajökull?
yeah, the big volcano
The
that
one
erupted in like 20.
Yeah, every time Bjorn says the name of that volcano, I have to laugh because
Yeah.
good luck
Yeah,
pronouncing it.
yeah. So it's kind of deceiving where you're looking here. Looking kind of in the center of the picture out into the distance, there's a farm that's basically right on the foot of the volcano. So the volcano is essentially just straight up behind that. And like behind where this picture is, there's actually a little museum there that they have all the pictures from whenever lava was flowing.
Basically, everything was covered in ash and closed down. I think a lot of the major airports in
Europe.
Europe.
Yeah.
For a couple days.
But they were even saying from that eruption, so this entire area, especially down in southern portion of Iceland, there's just tons of farms, and they were all just completely covered with like lava fields flowing everywhere and ash flowing everywhere. But I mean, as you can see, they're flourishing now.
I don't actually think that actually spewed a lot of lava.
I thought it did.
I thought it was mostly ash.
Oh,
but
regardless,
yeah.
they were all covered.
Okay. The museum's dedicated a lot to like talking about how they weathered that, because it obviously affected their farming and a lot of their crops and things like that. So
what was it that you liked about that so much?
The museum, or
just this experience?
It was really cool to go and speak to locals. I mean, like, these people were really local, as in they needed translators, because most of where we went, Iceland, people were pretty fluent in English.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But down in these southern portions, in these really rural areas, they only spoke like Icelandic, and they were very
as native really as could be.
Okay.
Like generations of native.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to go and like see a different side of Iceland in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
And with them too, I mean, they're very much everything that Iceland can really offer. Like they were living off of that. I mean, they were harnessing like all the geothermal energy coming from it, obviously all the land. The ground there is very fertile from all the ash and everything like that. And like their whole livelihood depends on the island and everything it has to offer.
Which is amazing, because it's really not that vast of an island. I mean, it's not small either, but it's not that huge. Mm-hmm. And you have so much right there.
Yeah. And I think they have a little over 300,000, maybe 330,000 residents of the island, or citizens, and majority of them live in Reykjavik, which is the capital, the main city. But they really have people everywhere.
Yeah, it's so much more sparsely populated in these areas everywhere outside of Reykjavik, really.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, of course, we did lots of different panoramic shots. I mean, how could you not there? It was just absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah. I wonder if we got... So this was really cool because we went in winter when it's mostly dark.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
So we could get a lot of like shadow shots, and everything was like perpetual sunrise, sunset almost.
Yeah, it's like even right here, kind of where the sun is on the horizon, it was pretty much that way all day.
Yeah, it really didn't get much higher than like maybe our heads in the sky. So that was really cool. This is probably, I don't know if there's a timestamp on this anywhere, but this is probably like maybe 2 or 3 in the afternoon. So
yeah, it's while we were there, it really sun wouldn't come up until maybe about 10 o'clock or so, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, and then start going down by about 3 or 4.
Yeah, I think we had maybe 6 hours like true sunlight, but it made for some really nice shots.
So this is down in Reykjavik itself.
This, I think, was on top of Hallgrímskirkja, the church.
Okay.
right in the center.
Oh, you
So
went up in the tower.
yeah, so we went up in the church, and this would be the top of the bell tower, and
Yeah, Reykjavik itself was actually a very interesting town. I mean, obviously the very European feel, but I wouldn't say they necessarily had any of the crazy architecture you would get in a lot of other really popular European cities, but still its very own unique style. Very colorful, as you can see, just looking across the city.
I like how low it is too. In a lot of ways, it feels like a big sprawling town than it does a big city, at least for me, because you don't have like the big skyscrapers and you don't have like all that stuff.
I think what I loved most about Reykjavik was its size because it was so walkable. Like you could walk from one end of Reykjavik to the other, and I don't think we really. I don't know if they had much public transportation, but we just walked everywhere because it wasn't necessary.
I mean, there was some hills and stuff like that.
Yeah, to get up to the church, it was kind of steep, but you know, we just could walk from our hotel to restaurants or to like the Harpa or any of the museums that were downtown. Pretty much anything we wanted while we were in Reykjavik, we just kind of walked. I think that's what we spent like the majority of our time there doing.
You got lots of good exercise. That's
Yep.
Well, you did a run around there, didn't you?
Yeah, I did a
run.
Yeah, I did a running tour with a local guide, and it was just me and her. I think we did about like 6 or 7 miles, which took all the way downtown, and then we went past the church. What's that place with the observatory, like the Opal or the Pearl or something like that?
Oh, the Pearl.
The one with like the restaurant.
Pearl.
Yeah. We went up and we ran around that. And that was really cool because stopped and talked about some things on the way. And
yeah, the Pearl overlooks the city. It's on a beautiful outcropping for people that don't know, and it's really interesting. It actually is from the hydroelectric plant, I think, there, because of so much of their the way that their energy is produced.
Yeah, I mean they really do. I mean they live on a volcanic island and they harness that. I mean they have so much geothermal energy, while also, I mean, they're a fairly flat country too, so they have a lot of wind turbines and stuff like that too. I mean they really, I think, harness as much green energy as possible across the entire country.
Love it.
Yeah, when we were on the Golden Circle tour, one of the things we stopped at some place and they showed us how they bake bread in the ground because of all the like geothermal heat.
Now, I mean, obviously that's probably not something that everyone does there, but it's something they're able to do. Like it's a unique little thing.
Dig a hole.
Yeah, essentially. They dig a hole, put the bread in, wait a little bit, and then you can eat it.
Yep.
And it's like it turns out like a steamed bread, so it's like a little moister, and there's like a rye, like a dark rye, like sweet bread. It was really good.
Can't do that in Maine, can you?
Oh, no, not at all.
Down in South Carolina, you just have to put it on the sidewalk.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
So this picture, obviously, it's the Northern Lights you can see there. It looks like it's taken during the daytime.
But in order to capture the Northern Lights, you have to put your camera on like this slow,
different exposures.
So it lets in more light over a longer period of time. But you have to hold the camera really still, or it turns out pretty blurry.
Yeah. So did you set it on the ground, or what did you do after that?
Yeah, this is on the ground. You can see the focus a little off. It was not easy.
Yeah,
next time we would get a tripod and bring that with
we
us.
went out, I believe, 3 times to view the Northern Lights. I mean, there's really no way to predict them. I mean, they kind of have an idea of when they're going to be, but I mean, there's so many different variables that go into how bright they're going to be, how visible they are. I mean, if there's any type of cloud cover, you essentially can't see anything.
Right.
So I think on our 3rd night out, we finally got to see some, which, I mean, they're absolutely amazing to see, just dancing across the sky.
Yeah. that was one of the things that I had wanted when we originally started talking about this. So I was really happy that we at least got one
Glad
too.
you got to see them. Yeah.
But you have to like go out. You can't be in Reykjavik and see them. There's too much ambient light. Yeah. So like every time we would go, we would have to like drive an hour or something outside of the city,
Right.
where it's like pitch black, and then just kind of sit and wait in the cold.
It was kind of interesting too. I think one of the times we went out was a planned time to go out to view them. But then the other 2 times, it was actually the tour guide that we had for the Golden Circle. All of us people on the tour, we all agreed together to have the tour guide just take us out to 2 other random spots throughout the country. So we went, and one of them went to a random church way out in.
I think that's where this was.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. And then another one, we went by one of the waterfalls south of Reykjavik somewhere to see them. Yeah, just local guides taking us out. And knew all the best places to potentially go and see.
Yeah, good.
So this was the second half of our trip. We went up and we were staying in a hotel in the north in Akureyri. But this was actually in Mývatn, which is like maybe 1 hour or something drive outside of the town. And one of the guides took us into these ice caves.
I would say that was probably one of my favorite areas of Iceland to go to, or one of the favorite things to do.
Hands down.
Obviously going into a cave, there was several spots. We're squeezing ourselves through tight holes or cracks to be able to get into the cave. But just ice everywhere. Absolutely gorgeous. As quietest I've ever heard anything. Like, it's going in there and you don't hear anything. This is actually inside of that cave there. Obviously the light behind some of the ice fissures is a light that the guide we had put just to kind of illuminate a little bit, but absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, that was a really cool experience.
It almost looks like a movie set. Like just so out of this world different that it almost looks fake. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not, I promise.
It was interesting too, like for this particular cave, you wouldn't even know there was a cave there. There was we had to go through a ton of farmland to get there, which we actually got stuck and had to help the tour guide shovel our Jeep out.
Also part of travel, right?
Yep, exactly.
You never know what to expect.
Yep. But even whenever we finally got there, there's just a small little hole in the ground and you wouldn't even think anything of it. They said, no, we're going to climb down into this hole. And then it eventually started to open up, and then we had our giant ice cave in there.
So neat.
All right, now we're into, that was the last one I pulled out for Iceland. This was Vancouver 2 years ago? A year ago.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Yeah. So this particular trip.
2 years ago now, probably.
Yep. We went to Vancouver, and also, which I'm assuming we have some photos of too, a resort, an old fishing lodge north of Vancouver called Sonora.
Yeah.
Very different than Iceland.
Yes. We went in May this time, so everything was green.
Well, we were going back and forth as to where you guys were going to go at all, because we were talking about different parts of Canada and different parts of the world. So ended up here, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I liked Vancouver a lot. It was a very green city. This was we took a bike tour. They've got like this wall that kind of goes around the entire city. The guide took us like all around the coast of the river bay, and then back around. And that was a really nice way to see the city. I think we both really enjoyed that. This is downtown Vancouver. We went and had dinner at a place where this was basically the view. And it was a great day, obviously. Like,
yeah, I mean, a little bit outside of the city, but looking down into the city. And I mean, I just loved Vancouver. I mean, you just look all around the city. It's green everywhere, but then surrounded by mountains.
Yeah,
but then you also had the water there.
You wouldn't think, but this is like a park in the city, like in the actual metro.
Yeah.
And like this is the peninsula down here where all the like financial district and the big high rises are and things like that. But this is still part of the city. And I think it's pretty indicative of the entire city itself was just green. Like they did a really good job of preserving some of that like nature, and so it doesn't feel like when you go to New York and like we plop Central Park down in the middle, but this was like throughout the city. It's pretty pervasive.
Integrated into it. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Of course, gotta get the flower pictures.
Well, this garden had like so many flowers. I don't know, like it was a very well maintained garden.
Yeah.
I don't know why I pulled all these. There we go.
Lots of flowers.
Yes, I think I just grabbed a bunch. This was at Sonora.
So Sonora was an old famous fishing lodge, which people still go there to fish. It's that general area is amazing for pretty much any type of fishing. But Sonora itself is a resort that's right up there on the water.
Yeah, but how did you get to Sonora?
That was, I love that.
I know you did.
So Sonora itself is tucked up in some islands way up there. So we actually ended up taking a helicopter all the way up to the island, which, I mean, I want to say it was about a 40, 45 minute, maybe an hour flight.
Yeah, I wish I didn't favorite any of the photos I had of like when we were up in the helicopter, but
yeah, so taking the helicopter, flying along the water, flying up across some of the mountains up there. Whenever we got to Sonora, of course, they had to do their couple swoops around just to kind of show us all the land up there, and then right down into the resort.
Yeah, it was pretty cool too. For the first maybe 3 or 4 days, we had the place just to like us and another couple. It was really not their busy season, so we got a lot of attention from the staff just because there were like 5 people on the island.
It was like 10 or 15 staff per guest.
Yeah, it was like
it was shortly after they opened. Yeah.
Yeah, I think their peak times are later in the summer, but I actually thought May was a great time to go.
Yeah, and just kind of show you how remote it is up there. I mean, the only ways to get to the resort are either helicopter, water plane, or boat.
Yes.
I mean, there's no other way to get there. It's completely secluded.
It's literally just plunked into the middle of this wilderness, which I love.
And it was like all inclusive. The food was really good. The staff was great.
The best food I've ever had.
Yeah, it was really great food.
It's different than what most people think of as an all-inclusive, isn't it?
It wasn't like cookie cutter by any sort. Like they have a professional chef, like a very good professional chef that does all their meals, and all their staff is like really
that's the thing, since it is so remote up there. I mean, all their staff, they stay up there at the resort for the entire season for the most part. I think they had some people rotate in and out, but they all live there as well. Whether it's 3 or 4 or 5 months of the year, whatever their actual season is. I mean, they're all right there living with you.
And then you could take some of the resort bikes and go out on these trails, and they had a lot of trails. And then I think we took this one all the way out to another lake or a pond or something.
That was always interesting. So they have black bears and grizzly bears.
It wasn't
everywhere up there.
It wasn't season for those.
It wasn't, but still, anytime we went out on our own, they would give us bear bells. So you would wear bells as you're going out just to scare off any bears you may potentially see.
That's mostly for the black bears, I think. You run into a grizzly bear, you're probably going to have a bad time.
Yeah.
But we didn't see any grizzlies while we were up there. I think it was too.
I really could have used a picture of you guys with your bear bells on.
I don't actually know if we have one.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure we do, but
We went out on one of these. It's like a boat raft.
The
yeah.
Zodiac.
Yes, the Zodiac boat.
Yeah, thank you. And we saw just a whole bunch of bald eagles, and they were just like flying, swooping down, catching fish.
We'll have to
hundreds of them.
send you. We have some videos of this too.
Yeah.
But going out in the water and then out of nowhere, just bald eagles start swooping around you. I mean, they're not going after you. They're all just fishing. The boat itself is churning up water and stuff like that. So the eagles just everywhere as far as you can see, just surrounding you, trying to catch fish. And then even outside of that, like if you get outside of the flocks of them, looking in all the trees up there, there's just eagles everywhere. I've never seen that amount.
No.
Yeah,
Apparently
most
Canada.
people, if they see one bald eagle, it's amazing, let alone that many.
Yeah, it was really cool.
And they're big.
Yeah.
Surprisingly very big birds.
This was also out on the Zodiac, and you can see they took us through some of these like eddies and I don't know what you call them.
Little whirlpools.
Little whirlpools. They had some big ones that we went through, and I swear the boat went like vertical at some point, but the guide was just knew what he was doing. And
they were saying Zodiac boats are probably some of the safest boats. I mean, it would take an act of God really to get them to sink. I mean, they're so buoyant. Obviously you have to be smart with them, but I mean, they're absolutely amazing for like white water and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it was just us. It was the tour guide and us. That was it.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot we did that as a private experience. So
Uh-huh.
You just got to go out on your own.
I mean, we just booked some tours at the resort, and there were just so few people that we ended up just getting like a lot of private excursions out of it.
Brilliant.
That's what I think we love to. I mean, about that is, yes, there's so many things you can get by going on season. But I mean, us personally, we love that really private, personal experience. We had that in Iceland. We had it here in Vancouver.
And I just wanted to, something I forgot to add to my favorites was when we were in Vancouver and we went and fished our own crabs.
Yep, crabbing.
Yeah, that was a really cool experience.
I just remember the look on your face when we start what I suggested. I remember that Dave, you were just shocked that Debbie wanted to even try that.
You suggested it and thought I wouldn't do it, and then I was like, that actually sounds really cool.
Yeah, we were just out on a pier with a handful of locals, and then it was actually a local chef. She took us out, and they showed us how to throw the traps and everything like that, and then
reel them in and then butcher them.
And then how to butcher the crabs, and then all the ones that we caught, she actually made a great meal for us.
Yeah, it was really good. And I think we have a video somewhere of me trying to kill the crab with a knife, and it's pretty funny. It's pretty cool.
We won't show that one this time.
Yeah.
It was definitely an experience.
Yep.
But that one was really cool, and probably something we would never have picked out.
No, that's never even would have thought to do that, but very memorable.
Yeah. I think that's the last ones I pulled for Vancouver. I've got some from Germany if you're interested in those, but you sent me by myself that time. So.
Yeah, why don't you show me a few? I'd love to see, like, I don't think we actually talked about Germany, but it'd be nice to see just.
No, life was a little bit of a whirlwind when we got back, or when I got back.
On this one, I think what I really liked about this is originally, unlike what we typically do, or like you guys have done, originally you reached out because you wanted to do a bus tour. You wanted to do a group tour, mainly because of cost. And you were going there for work. You were having a conference there. You wanted to extend your time. And as we looked into it, it just wasn't going to work because the options, which it happens so many times, but the options that were available they're either in Spanish or a different language, or they didn't work on the right dates, or they just didn't, they were moving too much. And we ended up designing a custom trip for you that honestly didn't cost much more than the pre-packaged thing, and you got something unique.
Yeah, and I actually think this worked out a lot better too, just because I had a lot of time to myself, which I tend to enjoy. It's not that I don't like other people, but I also like my me time. So this was nice to be able to just go and see the city and have some free days and do some things
in your
online.
own way.
Yeah, yeah.
So where was this picture taken?
This was Sanssouci in Potsdam. So this took a little day trip outside of Berlin.
Which is where the conference was.
Yeah, my conference was 3 days in Berlin, and then I think we stayed another 4 or 5 days, maybe after that, maybe a week. But Sanssouci was one of the palaces in Potsdam, and that was a cool little detour outside of the city after being in the city for maybe 4 days about that point.
Because Berlin's a pretty big city, right?
Yeah, it's a decent sized city for sure. And I'd been around a lot of people at that point. It was very hot. It was very hot when I was there. It was like,
what time of year was it?
It was June, but it was like 90 degrees or something, which was, they said, unseasonable for Berlin at that time, because nothing in Europe has air conditioning, and my poor hotel ran out of fans for the room, so there's like no air. But we had a lot of great weather, so that was really nice. This, I think, was Dresden.
That was at the Opera House.
Yeah, this was the Opera House during the day, I think.
First time you got to go to an opera.
And here it is at night, and this was after, or maybe during intermission or something. But that was a really interesting experience. I don't know that opera is necessarily something I would go see on a regular basis, but I'm glad I got to experience it. And if I was like in Italy or something like that, I would definitely go and see one. And I think Dave should go and see one just for the experience. Everyone should see an opera.
You got your local beer too, so that's always good.
Yeah, the Germans definitely love their beer. But
yeah, you said the food there was very interesting compared to, I mean, really anything we're used to. I mean, it's very German for what you would think of for German food.
Yeah, there's definitely a stereotypical German
sausages,
fare, sausage. Yeah,
apples and mustard, and
I ate all of those things.
Making me
hungry. Because when in Rome,
when in Germany.
Yeah, I really liked Dresden though. It was a really neat little city. I also like that we planned this and I got to take the train everywhere. German transportation was actually really great. The train was this was in Munich though. I think this is the last place that I stopped because we went.
Right.
How many cities you go to?
I want to say 4, but I'm blanking on what the 4th one was because it was Berlin, Dresden, something in Munich.
Yeah.
I
don't remember off the top of my head either.
Gorgeous architecture.
Maybe it was just 3. Yeah, this was at the top of one of the bell towers or something in the city. I really loved Munich and Berlin. They had really great public transportation. I think in Munich, it's a pretty wide or expansive city, so you wouldn't want to walk from one end to the other. But I was able to just take their subways and stuff everywhere, and it was really simple to figure out. Because this was in the heart of Munich, and then they had some outer parts. I don't know if you can see them, but basically where the Olympics took place and things like that.
BMW World is there. I don't think you ever got to that or cared about that, but yeah.
I walked past it. I did go up to the Olympic Park, and the BMW World is pretty close to it, but I didn't have a chance.
Building, isn't it?
Yeah.
One of their
this I think was part of the Olympic Park.
Okay.
You could just walk up some of their hills. And this is I can't remember what the name of the palace is here.
It's probably tagged on it, but
Yeah,
don't worry.
I can't remember the names.
I love the setting of that place too. Not only the statues, but just the backdrop of the mountains. You see the Alps and stuff down there.
And this, of course, was Neuschwanstein.
Do you have a favorite my favorite picture that you have kind of looking through the trees at the castle down in the? Yep, that one.
Actually, I think it's this one.
Oh, that's pretty. There you go.
Which is fun. I've actually seen. That must be a pretty famous spot to take photos. I mean, I've seen that photo before.
Do you know what it is? You follow this path all the way kind of like around the back of the castle, and then there's a line that you get in, and you have to go to like the middle of this bridge and you can get the shot. I didn't make it quite to the middle because I had to get back to where the tour, because we were going to go inside. And it was maybe like
some small group things. Yeah,
and it was maybe like a 5 or 10 minute walk, but the line for the bridge was really long, so I managed to get like almost to the center of the bridge, and then I just kind of like held up my camera.
Well, next time,
good picture.
Next time we'll when Dave can go to Germany, we'll have to maybe do a private thing before it opens to the public, and that way you can actually experience it without all the tourists around. That's a really nice way of doing it.
Yeah, it was so cool. You couldn't take any pictures inside the castle, but that was definitely an interesting place. And actually there were, I think, like 2 or 3 other smaller palaces on the same site that I went up to. I don't think I pulled pictures out for those, but on our way here we stopped at this it was just like a little like village or something for lunch, and it was just like the cutest little like quintessential German town. Had basically all those like buildings you think of, like they're brick, but they have like those sort of brown like slab.
Like the wood on that side. Yeah, it's really pretty.
And they had like a place where they made like wood clocks and things like that. I didn't see any clogs though, which
the cuckoo clocks.
Yeah, like actual
from the Black Forest area. Yeah.
Yep, this was down near there. I didn't get to go into the Black Forest, but
you brought back what?
Nuremberg. That was the other place I went. Nuremberg was cool. That was a pretty quintessential city, or German city too, I thought. Yeah, and they had really good sausages there.
Yeah, that's important. They do a good job with their sausages. Well, I really, this was a lot of fun. I really appreciate you guys sharing. It's fun reliving them, and